unveiling the Anunnaki and the hidden empire in Hollow Earth.
Anunnaki were just doing what they were best at, jumping from star system to star system, looking for planets with the fertility needed to create new life by means of accelerated evolution. The idea, as promised by their leader Anu, was to develop a utopian society. The day came when they hit an absolute jackpot by coming across a planet on the outskirts and backwoods of the galaxy, a planet that we call Earth. What a stroke of luck, considering that this planet was far away from the densely populated regions of the galaxy's center. They could now conduct their research and tests in private, away from the prying eyes of the Galactic Federation and its strict rules of conduct. The plan, as always, was to find the dominant species of the planet and engineer the genome to closer match their own, that is, the humanoid form. After all, this form seems to be the best suited for creating technology and advancing a high society. While rummaging this new planet, dwelling in the paradise of the Goldilocks zone, they saw that it was completely inhabited by bird-like reptiles, and they got to work. After finding the species that held the position of the top of the food chain, they began to augment the DNA in laboratories and created a creature of intelligence, foresight, and of course, humanoid form. Despite having absolute success in this tampering, a gigantic problem occurred that was familiar to the blood workers of the Anunnaki. The beings that they created, despite being of great intelligence, were extremely violent and rebellious. This mishap came from a misunderstanding. You see, on a planet of such high density, to be at the top of the food chain, one must be a predator. So no matter how advanced they made these new creatures, they would always violently lash out against their creators. This, of course, is no way to create a utopian society. Attempts to undo their work in order to save themselves from their own violent creation became futile. This new creature was cunning, manipulative, and disgustingly bloodthirsty. The power of these new reptilian humanoids could not be battled against. Anu was left with one option to rid themselves of this mistake, to destroy the entire planet instead. And so be it. Anu said, "Fuck it, throw a giant rock at that bitch and destroy everything in its wake," declaring proudly, "We will just come back in 26 million years and see what we can find then." This promise was kept, and upon their return, Anu and his goons were delighted to find that an entirely new kind of life had emerged. These rodents had formed a new type of brain, above but in addition to the violent reptilian brain of their last failed experiments. This new part of the brain held not only potential in intelligence, but had the gift of love. This new mammalian brain was capable of compassion and docility, a perfect recipe for a utopian society. So, round two, baby, they got to work. And what a success it was. This new creature called Adamu was calm, creative, and cooperative. So they decided to engage the divine spark of consciousness into the DNA of man, and learning from their prior mistakes, shut off portions of the DNA that could potentially bring these beings to full divine sentience. This programmed inhibition of the new child creatures seemed to bother particular genetic engineers of the Anunnaki, one of which, Enki, the head scientist, did not find this to be fair. Nevertheless, these concerns were ignored as Anu himself went down and told the new humans to abstain from eating of the tree of cubensis that has inhabited the planet since before time recorded, knowing damn well that this ancient ancestor of the planet could propel the children into fully awakened states and thus capable of rebellion. The new children of Enki's creation were then put to work. The entire species was told to mine gold and do labor day in and day out in order to keep their paradise and the programming necessary to ward off death. By now, it became clear to Enki and the other genetic engineers that Anu's promise to create a utopian society was a lie. They had been working for a clever con man. You see, deliberately isolated from the law put forth by the Council of Nine and the Galactic Federation. Anu had created a docile slave race to worship him and to do the dirty work. This broke the heart of Enki. After all, these people were his children, so he decided to come down and make clear to Adamu and his children that the plan of Anu was that of deceit. He encouraged them to eat from the tree of the earth ancestors in order to bring them to full divine sentience. And, well, Anu was pissed. So pissed off that he again decided to destroy the planet, this time with a great flood. But this motion created a disagreement between the Anunnaki brethren, causing a war in heaven. The children of Enki were warned of this plan to flood the earth so that they could be given the opportunity to live, and of course, one day evolved to the level needed to join the ranks of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. It was simply not fair to the new children to be wiped out, as they were now blessed with the divine spark of the Godhead. The war in heaven became such a mess that the Galactic Federation had to step in and kick all of the Anunnaki out of this particular solar system, leaving humans, of course, to their own devices, but also giving them a chance to advance at their own merits. For the first time, humans would be left completely alone in the universe, with the few and far between exceptions of trespassing civilizations that would sneak into the planet from time to time to either help nudge the children closer to God, or in more sinister cases, study this new form of genitalia that made procreation in such a high density possible. But after leaving the humans alone to be watched and rooted for, one gigantic problem became clear: a terrible and ignorant oversight that haunts us to this day. You see, when Anu threw that giant rock at the planet to destroy the extremely advanced reptilian first experiment, it only wiped out the surface of the earth. And when they returned to create children from the new mammals, they underestimated the cunning of the terrible bloodthirsty reptiles. They forgot to look underground. After forming an entire civilization within the earth, away from the law of the Federation, frankly a form of deceit that they picked up from Lord Anu himself, the reptiles had no choice but to continue on the only way that they knew how, as predators. The new children, called the human beings, inherited the surface of the earth and were left alone, but unfortunately and devastatingly so, not completely alone, because the reptiles that were illegally created before them found the new mammals to be the perfect prey, food. And their cunning was so sharp they could do so in the shadows undetected. And once it was clear that man had the spark of divinity and emotion, the vengeance of these reptiles went from just bloodthirst to also feeding off the extreme suffering of mankind. After all, what better a way to get back at the so-called gods that abandoned them than to torture the children of these ignorant creators? Their dark spiritual techniques and technology enabled them to change form and manipulate the minds of the naive children of God. They became demons of the most dangerous and powerful kind possible. The human children of Adam were left alone in hell, ironically on a planet of stunning beauty, giving birth to the longest running branch of mythology in history. This is the story of the humanoid anthropomorphic reptiles, and the entire thing you just heard is completely parabolic.
So that story is telling the story of what they called the Watchers, or the fallen angels. And when they mixed with humans and created this Nephilim race, they are the ones that created the reptilians, but they didn't come from another galaxy or faraway star system. It's all interdimensional. And Saturn is projecting this holographic image of the flat Earth simulation that we live in. That's why the numbers work when I decode stuff using gematria. It's all encoded through numbers because we live in some type of a simulation. These elites, these Anunnaki bloodlines, they're traveling interdimensionally through these stargates. That's what the Tower of Babel really was. It was Stargate technology. And they're trying to open this dimension using CERN right now, what they call Planet X. It's really Dimension X. Now, these entities, there's stories of their technology that's so far advanced that they have these chairs they can sit in and transfer their consciousness into a humanoid and walk around in that human body while their 15-foot Anunnaki body is in kind of a stasis, cryostasis type of state while they're walking around looking like us in their little skin suits. So they have technology that's way further advanced than anything we've ever seen. And they've had this technology back in ancient Egypt, Lemuria, Atlantis. They can also transfer the consciousness from one host to another. So if their body wears out, which, the legends say they live thousands and thousands of years. Now, what did they call Nibiru? The planet of the crossing, because that's when the portal would open up and they were able to cross over. And you see it has the symbol of the 8-pointed star and the iron cross. We see this same symbol, the 8-pointed star and the iron cross, connected to the nobility, the noble bloodlines. That's because they're descendants of what's called the Anunnaki. This 8-pointed symbolism we see over and over again all throughout society, and it's always tied to stargates, right? The Vatican has the 8 spokes on the wheel. The ancients would talk about this 8-pointed stargate would open in the sky, and that's when these gods would come through it. These giant gods with advanced technology. Now, at CERN, they have the 8 bars, right? Inanna's name in cuneiform, the 8. Vegas has the 8-pointed star, which was also connected to Babylon and Ishtar. We see it with the Mormons, but most importantly, the 8-pointed star is always connected to superheroes or entities with abilities like Captain Marvel. And remember, she got her superpowers from plasma. When you travel in Captain Marvel, how'd they travel? Interdimensionally through these stargates. And look, they look like cubes. These cubes would open up and they would travel through them to other worlds throughout the multiverse interdimensionally. Them cubes are connected to Saturn. And it's this elven race. That's what the Anunnaki were referred to in ancient times, this elven race. In Rings of Power, we see the 8-pointed star connected to the elves. So we also see it with Wonder Woman. Remember, she had it on her forehead and the Amazons would wear it? We live in a dimension. And before Rodney Piper died, guys, he said They Live was a documentary. Because it was.
Well, there you have it, folks. What do you think about everything you just saw? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'm out.